Hello, PDHP parents. It's Carrie Ann Fitzgerald from the Program for the Development of Human Potential, PDHP. I'm the Parent Community Outreach Coordinator, and we've been talking about our workshop on social media and your child. We call it #parents. We've gone through a couple of things. We've talked about trends, we've talked about behaviors, we've talked about apps, we've talked about brain development and educational development, and we have talked also about the downside and the negatives of social media that our kids are privy to. And in some cases, we are as well, right, as adults, okay? We're really saturated with information. So I did want to take today and give you the good side, right? So as I left you before with all the negatives, you may have said, hey, time to go off the grid and move out, and all of that. But, let's just stop for a second and let's readjust. Just like in the news, we never hear of every time a plane safely lands. We often hear about bad things, sexting crises, malware, viruses, things like that, okay? So let's think about the good side. So there are millions of kids who are using social media in very simple ways amongst friends and family in very protective ways. And they make a lot of positive impact, both small and large. So let's think about this. Looking at what psychologists and sociologists say, they talk about using social network sites for things like socializing or hanging out with their friends, right? For the most part, these are friends that we meet at school, and it's a way that we could extend that relationship. We know that friendship takes some work and some time, and our kids don't always know that. And it's not always as organic as it might have been when we grew up. It could have been maybe you went to school locally and you got to play in the schoolyard after dismissal or with your friends down the block and you all kind of went to the same school. Now we see a lot of kids who are commuting from different areas to the school. So they may not have that commonality of neighborhood, but they do have that commonality of school. And then they're able to extend a little bit. Maybe it's playing a game online, and that's a big one for boys. They liken gaming to a conversation that they would have in friendship. Kind of like, when we were growing up, I remember all the boys playing ball in the street or, riding their bikes, that kind of thing, right? And for girls, they definitely like more of a visual. So things like Instagram and Snapchat and Pinterest are very girl friendly. And I know, I just see sometimes with my daughter who's 11, it's a lot of that too. It's a lot of, let's make this craft and let's, FaceTime and things like that. Okay. We see that they enjoy getting day-to-day news about their friends and their acquaintances and their relatives and their peer groups. It's really nice when we have family from far away that we're able to connect with. I mean, we didn't have that growing up. So it adds a level of that relationship to be able to say, FaceTime your cousins from California. I mean, how cool is that? I know that students used to enjoy collaborating on schoolwork by using maybe a shared blog or something like this, posting homework, We know that these kind of behaviors of themselves create a validation or an emotional support, especially when we look at the age group of your teenagers and your adolescents. We know that it gives into a little self-expression, some healthy exploration, some formation that really does occur in adolescent development. And this all kind of sets the stage for what sociologists will call informal learning. So learning outside of those formal settings, such as school, such as a classroom, right? This is learning different social norms. This is learning social literacy, how to be those social cues, learning technical skills of the digital age, because we're going to see that as essential to any kind of professional development or academic drive that our kids have. I'm also thinking of the times that we have to go remote, or we even have our remote learning academy. You know, just harkening back to that idea of socializing, this is a way that they could extend their friendship. After class, there's that one or two kids that are really important to them, and maybe they're able to FaceTime together, a little bit after class, even if they're drawing and they're FaceTiming at the same time, to talk to each other. Also, that idea of discovering and exploring interests, academic, maybe future professional interests. I always thought how cool it was that my daughter, when she was younger, she really wanted to be a veterinarian. She would say that from maybe the time she could speak. And for her, like, it was no greater pleasure than to sit and look at pictures of different animals. And she had kind of that treasure trove right on our iPad that she could see this, I think about growing up, and it was like, okay, can grandma walk me down to the library so I could take out a book, to extend that information. So how cool that they have this at their fingertips and we can manage it in safe modes. Again, so that leads to just that learning about the world beyond their immediate home and school environment, celebrating differences. Even like I think about it this month, on our Facebook page, you probably have seen that we celebrate Native American heritage this month. And, that may not be something that's in your immediate home, maybe not even in your school community or your community itself, but just thinking of that rich heritage that we all can engage upon. Civic engagement, of course, participating in different causes that are meaningful to them. This becomes also a way to give them prevention messaging. I always remember seeing some of my students when they were 13, they may have been allowed to have social media accounts, and they were on the PDHP pages and excited about PDHP coming in and, getting that messaging of, what's risky out there. What can you do instead to keep positive, to keep healthy, to keep pro-social? All of those things, those skills that we want our kids to have. Again, we see this generation, they are socializing this way. And it shouldn't be all the time. We could, even in these times of lockdown, get some time outside together, even for 15 minutes, maybe family walk with, close friends that, your kid can see face to face and interact with. It's important for them. But so many kids are socializing over digital media. Important to realize this is just one extension of friendship. And, if they're not having some sort of access to it, our isolation, even in good times, can be a factor. So sometimes a little interaction is better than none. So maybe even if you're a parent who's like, no, I'm not going to do that, allowing them maybe a little FaceTime with maybe that kid in their class or a friend of theirs. They can FaceTime their friend for a little bit with you around. The great thing is you see them, you hear them, it's in public space. So these are safe ways that we can get that interaction and that extension of friendship, avoid that isolating. So little things to do. Of course, I think oftentimes that this sector of two things. One thing is a video that I'm going to post for you on Friday called We Are All Daniel Quee. It's a Facebook story. I love it. It's about some things that went the wrong way with social media and then how it was kind of righted. And we'll talk a little bit more about that video once you get a chance to see it. But one of the things is, with all these good things that we can do, what are some ways that you think you can allow maybe some of this in the safest way possible? Our schools have social media policies. What's your policy at home? Do you have one? If you do, what's helpful? What have you turned to? What resources? Share it with our parent community because we know that peer parent support is so important. So don't be shy and share. Okay, just write a comment. I hope you have a great day. It's Wednesday, and I will be speaking to you again on Friday. I'll be posting that video for you to take a look at. Also, maybe have a conversation with your kids around it. That's always a good one. So I'll post some questions for you as well. Have a good one. Take care.